All right, good morning, guys. Happy day. It is the 30th of April. Final day of April, right? 30 days has September, April, June. Yeah. So here comes May coming at you quick. Good morning. Good to see you. Futures are down a wee bit. We got the NQ down about 2%, the RUT down about 1.8, crude oil down 1.5. We did short some crude oil here this morning. S&P futures down about 1.3, Bitcoin down 0.9, YM down 0.9, and the gold futures down about 0.6. So a little skirmish here in the futures. But if we jump over here to the spreadsheet, what kind of market are we in? Bullish, bearish, or neutral? We are in a neutral market, which I think means, kind of putting it as simply as possible, you don't fall in love with one idea for too long. A neutral market is a market not really making a big commitment. Bulls haven't taken full control. Bears haven't taken full control. You want to approach a neutral market with a term mindset. Not trying to think about the 4, 5, 6 weeks out. It may be thinking a little bit more about the next 4 or 5, 6 days out. Neutral is neutral, and then few things do look really good here. So if we look at the top 10 bull, you've got Take Two, Melly, ZS, Altria, Netflix, you got some Berkshire, some Monster Beverage, MSTR, Palantir, VRTX, Crowd, and Duke. I really like a few of those, so we'll check a few of those. And then the top 10 bear names would be UNH, KHC, Pepsi, Regeneron, UPS, Old Dominion, BKR, TMO, FedEx, and UMP. A little bit of good and a little bit of bad. And then as far as the indexes go, QQQ has 20 points out of 120. And with gap down coming our way here this morning, we're probably going to drop back a little bit. So nothing too impressive. S&P's got 20 points. Dow Jones has 4 points. And the IWM has a whopping 0 points. A big old goose egg. And then Big Ten names, Netflix is still really strong. 116 points out of 120. Broadcom, not too bad. Here's the thing. If we were in a really good market, and I think our last really good market was October, November, December of last year. In that kind of market, we're not looking at a 57 out of 120, a 52 with 29. Yeah, in the current market, they're better than, Broadcom at 57 is better than Google with 0. And Tesla with 52 out of 120 points, it's better than Meta with 13. With the exception of Netflix here, none of them are really great. A little bit more neutral. And then for the sectors, Bitcoin trying to shape up. I think I showed you guys that weekly squeeze back on Monday. GBTC with 93 points, XLU with 93. Gold trying to creep back up with 87. And then the bad would be, energy negative 30. You got the transports. The things I like to trade the most, all right, big tech names, big semiconductors. Here's the SMH with a 4 out of 120 and the XLK with a 12 out of 120. I don't think any of that makes for really good, bigger picture swing trading. Right, I'm taking NVIDIA. I'm going to buy a September expiration call, sit back and enjoy the move. All right, well, if the SMH had maybe 90 or 100 points and NVIDIA did as well, you may be thinking about a bigger picture swing trade. So keep it short term, guys. And then for the futures action here, NQ down about 2, S&P's down about 1.3. So looking at the QQQ, we had bought a couple of the May expiration 480 calls back on Thursday of last week. And we took our profit on that pop there yesterday. It did look really good from the ground up, towards the close. Good looking 1 hour squeeze, good looking 15-minute squeeze. It's just from this 40 up into 490. Lot of junk up here. You've got the daily 50 SMA, you have the daily 200, and then even off the weekly chart, you have the weekly 21 and the weekly 50. So depending on how they can handle the dip here today, we gap down, we pull back a bit, and they actually find some support and hold structure. Short-term thinking, they can maybe get it into 490. My thinking would be the first back test into the falling weekly 21 should be met with decent amount of resistance. Does that knock us back down and take us back down towards these lows? I'm not too sure about that. But if they can handle the gap down here today, maybe a short-term path a little bit higher. So I think a good level here for the QQQ today. Anchor to your hourly 21 EMA. Right? That's going to be around 469, 470. Looking like a gap down under, let me see, 466. I wouldn't be in a big rush to buy the QQQ on the dip. Right? Why not? Well, for one, it's just neutral. Now, Netflix gapping down or Bitcoin gapping down may be a little bit different. Better scores, bunch of buy signals, better structure. QQQ's just got 20 points out of 120. I'm not going to be in a big rush to buy that gap down. So if they can, let me see. Yeah, 466. All right, I'll give you two levels. One will be the hourly 21. A gap down below it, pop back above it. You maybe jump in, call for the long. A bigger, maybe more important level, the hourly, and that's going to be QQQ 460. Right? It's got a neutral score. You don't have a good-looking weekly chart, good-looking daily charts. You don't have weekly buy signals, daily buy signals. If we're trying to get the market to go higher in the short term, they've got to keep these lower time frame buy signals. From an ammunition point of view, it's kind of all got right now. And if they take the hourly chart back below the 200 SMA, but by default, the way the indicator works, we can no longer get a 1 hour buy signal. And I think back under 460, that might be all she wrote here as far as the pop. So for today's session and tomorrow's session, you can get it back above the hourly 21. Sit back for a bit, wait for a 5-minute, 15-minute buy signal. They might try to pop it right back up. If they at any point get under the hourly 200, I think we got to can the idea of short-term longs. And then let's check the SPY. 545-ish at the open. Yeah, that'll be a tricky spot there. Again, you don't have any weekly buy signals, no daily buy signals, no 4 hour, no 2 hour. Back under 543, they're going to lose the hourly buy signal. And then we're back to a point where we're in a neutral market and the bulls have nothing to work with. No 5-minute buy trigger, no 15, no 30, none to be found. So yeah, I think a lot of patience here on the gap down, and let's go check a few of these Big 10 names. Yeah, see, Tesla's back in the 280. Nvidia back into 105-ish. That's a little bit of a spanking. What about the Google? Google down into 157. Meta back down to 541. Yeah, good breaking below their hourly 21 EMA. Do not be in a big rush to buy it. S&Ps, QQQ, Nvidia, Google. What about the Tesla? Tesla. Yeah, 280 at the open. Let's see, Netflix 1114-ish. Yeah, Netflix still really strong. And then Apple. What about the Apple? Apple into 207-ish. And then also keep in mind we have, I believe tonight is Microsoft and Meta earnings. And then tomorrow night we have both Apple and Amazon, which could take everything we talk about here this morning and, kind of throw it out the window. Big gap up in Google, big gap up in, or Meta rather, big gap up in Microsoft. That might get the QQQ back in better standing. They go and dump the things. Could be the opposite. But yeah, good rule of thumb here for today. Anything breaking back below the hourly 21, do not be in a big rush to buy it. A couple of things I do like here. So we picked up some TJ Maxx yesterday. Took profit on the QQQ and bought a little TJ Maxx. And if I can make about $1 million on this trade, I, I might get back all the money my wife has spent here. Maybe, just maybe. But pretty clean stuff here, guys. Key thing to keep in mind. I know I'm being a broken record. We're in a neutral market. QQQ falls apart again. S&Ps fall apart again. Even your better looking setups, they might not work. And I do think for now TJ Maxx is one of them. So we've got the A plus squeeze here on the 3-day, right? Squeeze and a perfect score of 15. We've got a perfect score of 15 and a squeeze on the daily time frame, perfect score of 15 and a squeeze on the hourly time frame. And I think they even threw in a 5-minute for good measure. Yeah, perfect score of 15 and a 5-minute squeeze. So I like it. That's it's pretty much my classic trade. Daily squeeze in an uptrend with good structure, all the fixings for a push. Trying to buy that near the 21 EMA, trying to play for a push into 135-ish. And from a risk reward perspective, that's the importance of buying it near that 21 EMA. And we bought the May 23rd 125 calls. From a risk reward perspective, imagine we bought the equity. Right, we're buying shares of TJ Maxx. Right, if I can buy it around 128-ish, and I've got my target around 135, I've got potential for about $7 of reward. All right, so RW, we'll call that +7. And then from there, the exit would be a close back below the 21 EMA. That's down here around call it 125. So I'm risking about 3 points against me to potentially catch about 7 points in my favor. All right. If I instead buy TJ Maxx around 132.5, it's a totally different dynamic. I maybe catch a $2.50 move in my favor, or I might catch a $6.50, $7 move on the chin back to that 21. So good rule of thumb. Got the Keltner channels here. You want to buy it near EMA within that +1 ATR Keltner channel. Usually the sweet spot as far as risk reward. So we got some TJ Maxx calls for May, and then this morning we shorted some crude oil futures. One long and one short. We call that diversification. But all right, first thing here for crude. Bigger picture, of course. I think the monthly squeeze might want to break short. And it's a pretty big monthly squeeze. This started printing back in December of 22. And now for the first time since the squeeze started, we're getting a signal. Just so happens to be a sell signal. So I'm thinking under $70. They might want to break that short for a flush down to possibly 40. And then the signal we're playing here today is a signal off of the daily squeeze. Perfect bear score of -15. Bear trend, bear structure, bear momentum. All the fixings potentially for a push down to 56, maybe a bit lower. So we're long TJ Maxx, we're short crude oil, and the exit here for crude oil would be a move back above the trailing stop, which right now is around 64.30-ish. So 2 open trades there, and then things I would like to buy. But again, a lot of that will have to do with how can the market handle the gap down. Gapping down to QQQ 466. Down turns into QQQ 460, QQQ 455, 450. That's a little bit too much of a give back. Like I said, at that point, even the best looking longs might not work out all that well. But until then, a few things I like here. One would be MicroStrategy. And they have earnings on Thursday. So maybe hold off until then. But really good looking 3-day squeeze and almost a perfect weekly squeeze. They've got the trend lined up, they've got the structure, they've got the squeezage. Now they got to get momentum. With a little bit of the gap up here later in the week, they might be in good standing to go and get that MACD cross. They do that, we're getting our white arrow, and then I think it's off to the races. So I like that one. I also like Zscaler. And they all have earnings coming up, but I do like ZS. Really clean weekly squeeze, really clean on the 3-day squeeze. The more the merrier, and then really clean here for the 2-day squeeze. QQQ goes back to 400 from here. They might not work, but I'm liking it for now. And then next up would be Crowd. No white arrow yet, but a pretty good looking weekly. And then from that we can jump to Bitcoin futures. It could take a while to play out. If at any point you can trigger the white arrow, I think they got room for push back into 115, 120 and change. And we can get the white arrow from here if they can get that MACD cross. So it's a lot like being back here. Big squeeze printing in an uptrend, really good structure, stacked EMAs. It's just the gas tank is a little bit dry. Momentum shift, full tank of gas, squeeze breaks out, squeeze fires, and it is a beautiful thing. So Bitcoin's more of a waiting game for now. Weekly squeeze, 3-day squeeze, 2-day, 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute squeeze. And then for the most part, guys, it's pretty much all I'm watching right now. Short crude oil, long TJ Maxx, and then pretty much a patience game here for the indexes. The indexes and index-related names. And then we'll have the popcorn ready for big earnings tonight, big earnings tomorrow. And yeah, keep on keeping on taking things day by day. It's a good day-by-day market. Short-term thinking, working off your lower time frames. I don't think it's a great market to be greedy. And I am definitely liable to be a little bit greedy every now and then. But when we're buying the QQ calls back here, the game plan from the get-go was try to catch a push back to the falling 50. All right, good close, momentum shift, VIX is down, a couple of buy signals. We got within about what? Yeah, we got within about $2 of that daily 50 yesterday. Had I been greedy trying to catch that extra couple of dollars and change, now I'm waking up to a gap down back into 466. Kind of ballparking to here. That would have been about a 60% profit back to break even. We don't like doing that. But all right, y'all, any questions for me? Any chart requests? Drop them in the chat here. Game plan for today, manage TJ Maxx, manage crude oil, and then see what's up here for the Qs. The fact we're going to gap right below the hourly 21, I don't think a great sign here for bulls initially. Back above that level, they're potentially back in good shape. Back below the hourly 200, and she could be due for a dumper. But all right, looking like we are good on Q&A, so I will let y'all go. For those of you guys and gals in the main room, I believe JC's got the open, so be sure to jump in over there. For those of you in my room, I'm going to go heat up the coffee, and I will catch y'all